Welcome to PrimeNet. Today's video is going to be about supervisor approvals. I'm logged in as a supervisor, and these are the employees that I do have access to. There are two ways to approve time cards within the application. We'll go the slow way first, and that's under Edits and Time Management. You'll notice there's also an Edits and Approvals. We'll look at this one in a minute, but this one is where I can approve multiple people at once. For some, you may want to view their timesheets one at a time and then approve to make sure that you've seen everything and nothing's looking out of place. For the mass approvals, all you're going to see is their total regular hours, total overtime, double time, and total paid time away. Paid time away is for things like sick, vacation, PTO, holiday, stuff like that. So we'll go into edits and time management. And I'm going to go to the timesheet. And we can pull up any employee that's available to us. I'll just leave them on this one. But you'll notice it pops up in the current pay period and under the approvals. And if you can't see approvals, make sure the show approvals box is checked, and that will open it up for you to see. When you don't need to be looking at this, you can always hide it by making sure that that is unchecked. So I select it. I can see it's the current pay period. I don't want to approve anything in the current pay period because although the pay period ends on the 14th, if I approve it right now, nothing further can be added to it. No time off, no edits, no modifications, no deletions, nothing. So we really don't typically approve a current pay period, although the system could be set to be able to do that. The default is not to. So I'm going to go back to my last pay period. And now I can see the employee has not signed off. And that's fine. Employees don't have to sign off for you to be able to sign off on this as a supervisor. But we can see I've got the button right here to be able to sign off. I can see my totals and how they break down. I can view the different items in the time card. If they're attached to a schedule, I can see their schedule. I can come over here and look at their weekly totals if you're on a bi-weekly or a semi-monthly. So I click on this one. I can see 42 and a half hours in this week. I click here on week 2, and again, 42 and a half hours. The total for the pay period is here. Non-payable would be things like lunches, absence, any type of time that's entered into the timesheet that is unpaid. The dollars would be anything like a bonus, tip, commission, those types of things that are added to the timesheet. This is not their pay rate times their hours. It's only for dollar amounts specifically added to the timesheet. And then down below, it breaks everything out. Total payable, and of that 85 hours, 85 of it was worked. If they had sick or vacation or something, it would break that out down here by the categories that they had. And obviously, you'd be able to see that on the different weeks that you clicked on down below. So with that, this all looks good. I'm happy with it. There's nothing missing out of here. No red, which would be the main thing I'm looking for. There's no overlapping time, which would likely be a mistake I may have made if I gave somebody, for instance, another transaction on the 19th from, say, noon to 4 p.m. Well, that noon to 4 p.m. would overlap with this transaction in the noon to 2:30. So it would appear, both of them would appear in the pink to let me know that I could have a potential issue. Awards or dollar amounts, bonus, tip, commission would appear in purple. My PTO and holiday would appear in the green, and the white, as you see below here, is worked time. So that kind of tells me what's going on. Over to the right, if I hold my mouse over the note, it shows me what's in that note. Now, these are all auto-generated for a salary individual, so that's what the note is meaning here. It just makes their time card each week, and that way I don't have to go in and fill anything out. So if that looks good, and I'm happy with this, I just click sign off. Are you sure? Yes. Sign off means approve. It also means release. All three terms are interchangeable throughout the software. Um, but basically, my terminology is we're approving the time card, but we're also signing it off that, yes, I've looked at this and I'm good with it. So I'm able to revert this if the back end settings are set to do so up until the moment the payroll admin approves it. Once the payroll admin approves it, I will lose the ability to revert. But the reason the revert is here is maybe I got to thinking about it and I forgot to add in uh, sick time or something like that. If I try to click here, it's going to tell me it's signed off, no edits. If I try to add it in, it's not going to let me. I have to revert my sign off. Then I can come in and add in PTO. What date is this? The 20th. We'll give him 8 hours, 6 a.m., 6 a.m. He's got 16 hours, save it. And now we've got that in. If I try to quickly sign off on that, it's going to tell me that the employee has transactions pending. We can tell that it's pending right here. It's still working in the background. We're just not forcing refreshes, every few seconds to the page. It's not a big deal. Had I waited a few seconds longer and then clicked sign off, I'm good. It still says pending here. Again, that's okay. As long as it let me sign off, I know that it's processed in the back end. If I wanted to see processed here and make sure everything met with my approval, I can click refresh and I can see it's processed through here. So again, that's the other part of approving, is if for some reason somebody has any punches that are in a pending status, it won't let me approve them. It lets me know something's going on, and I can take a better look at there to see what's going on. So this is the slow way. Again, I can go to the next employee by clicking the arrow or going to the drop down, and there's my sign off. I've got red, but that's for the 15th. This pay period is the 18th to the 31st, so it really doesn't apply, but it should have already been corrected. So I could click sign off, okay, and submitted. Now it's waiting for the payroll admin. So that's the slow way. Now, that works great for some people that really want to check, but there are times where you may want to do this en masse. So this is where the edits and approvals come in. And I've got multiple pay periods on here, and I really don't have anybody on these, but this is my correct pay period here. And I can see all my employees. This is the supervisor. I can see that I've approved Myra and Christian. So my regular hours, my overtime, double time, paid time away, again, sick, vacation, holiday, things like that, total hours, and I can just click this box. You'll notice it puts a check mark in all of them. Down at the bottom, I click sign off, and then I click OK. I just glance to make sure all of my boxes that I want signed off are green, and there's nothing that's left white. If I did this and one of these was still white, that tells me that that person would have some pending transactions. So if it looked like this and I was expecting for this to have been approved, I would click on Delia's name. It's going to take me to another pop-up. It's going to bring me to Delia and the pay period we're in, and I'd be able to take a look and see what's going on her timesheet. Click back over here. We know everything's okay. I can just click sign off to the right. There we go. So that's the easy way. Now, you do see a hide empty time cards right here. This may be checked by default, and you'll notice some people disappeared. Even though I've got Alex over here with 0 hours, when I uncheck this, let's see, Allison, oh, she's still there. Casey. Okay, so Casey Thornton right here disappears when I hide empty time cards, but we still see 0 here just as we did on Allison. The difference between an empty time card and one with 0 hours is that an empty time card has nothing in it. And there's nothing here. No unpaid entries, nothing like that. But if we go look at Allison, I'll click on her name, bring up her timesheet. She has a schedule in here. And she also has this, but even without this, because these absent entries are in her time card, it is not considered to be an empty time card. It's just simply 0 hours. So that's the difference between an empty time card and one that is not empty. One that's not empty is likely to have absences, and that's because she's on a schedule and didn't clock in on these days. Whereas Casey, he is not attached to a schedule, and he does not have any absent entries or anything else for that matter in his timesheet. So that's the difference between an empty time card and one that shows up here with 0 hours, even if we're asking it to hide empty time cards. My expectation is, in this instance, Brian Byrne, he should have hours. So that's my cue. Why don't he have any hours in here? I need to go and figure this out. Maybe he hasn't been clocking in or out. Who knows what happened, but this tells me that he was scheduled to work and there's no hours in here, versus unhiding the empty time cards. And Casey, yeah, he hasn't worked for the last few weeks. I'm not worried about it. So that's how you approve your time cards. And again, once the admin approves them, you would not be able to revert them. It removes the ability to revert. You would need to contact a payroll admin and say, hey, I need this added or modified. They would have to go in and revert their own approval so that yours could be reverted and you can add what's necessary. That concludes the supervisor approvals. Thank you for watching.